The Hog's Eye is brought to you by TicketClub.com, your one-stop shop for live events nationwide. Whether you're looking for game, theater, or live performance tickets, don't sweat it. TicketClub.com has you covered. So make sure you're going there for all your live entertainment needs, and make sure you're clicking over to them from the banner at the top of thehogsty.com.
By fans, for fans, the Hog Style. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
Welcome to the Hog Style, DC's unofficial leading source for all things Redskins. As we approach the regular season games, we'd love to remind you that our sponsors are TicketClub.com. If you're going to attend a game, make sure you buy your tickets through TicketClub.com, and you get there by going to thehogsty.com first. But in the meantime, we got a third preseason game to discuss. We've got big season predictions to talk about this year. Mr. Alex Zeese and Mr. Steve Thomas are with me. How you fellas doing this morning?
Hanging.
Well, stayed up late watching a terrible football game, so I'm a little tired.
Amen.
But
The question
yeah.
are you hungover? Because I know how you get when these games go badly.
Oh no, I'm not hungover. It's preseason.
By the way, somebody somebody messaged us a couple weeks ago and said that they were a new listener and they were confused about who everybody is. And so, just for the record, I'm Steve. This voice this voice that's awful is Steve.
He likes to talk about numbers, statistics, legality. What else do you like, Steve?
I like some football again, now and again.
He likes some football every now and then, sprinkled into his legal issues. I agree. Well, this is fun. Steve, Alex, why don't you tell the new listeners, who are you?
Well, I'm Alex, and I'm the guy who kind of just does everything in the background. So somehow I'm still on the show, but,
he's
I'm the producer.
Don't listen to him.
You're in the background, except that you talk every single week.
Well, there's that.
And go to training camp.
Right.
And conduct
Still
interviews.
not sure why we do that.
Why we do that? Because we want people to think we are big time Redskins media people. That's why.
Sure. And we are. We'll prove it this year by doing. Boy, one of us is going to get 100% on their season prediction. One of us.
Oh yeah.
That has never happened in the history of the show.
We come damn close, though, Steve. We come damn close.
You're the one that normally comes closer, Sean. You seem to have I'm the one that's always totally way off.
Yeah, and full disclosure, I pull that straight out of my ass every year. Full disclosure.
Oh yeah, none of us prep when we predict games, No,
I've been burned by that too many times. Over preparation for the you never know what's going to happen. But hey, we can come back to that after this. Maybe we should discuss this third preseason game first. We saw the Broncos. It was an interesting exhibition game. Guys, tell me something. Should I be excited that Adrian Peterson's the best player on this team, or disappointed?
I think you should be excited about it. I mean, it's fun to have a player. Look, I mean, I was the one that I wasn't totally happy with them signing Adrian Peterson because of his age and everything else. But number one, he proved me wrong last night. Number two, it is exciting to have a player who is a surefire, sure-bet Hall of Famer on the team. I think it excites the fan base. People have something to cheer about. I mean, would you rather cheer for Capri Bibbs or Adrian Peterson? I mean, no offense to Capri, but come on,
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's a fair point. He looked good. He looked athletic. He didn't. I mean, you certainly can see that the guy's not as blindingly fast as he once was. But my goodness, he can get something done on the ground, and that's something we haven't been able to say for a few years. Didn't quite take the pressure off of Smith.
Here's the thing I think everybody needs to remember about Peterson, because what I think I said in our game preview and what a bunch of other analysts said is Adrian has run – he's run every style, but what he's been best at is hitting the gaps out of the eye,
right.
or at the offset eye. And what everybody was concerned about was Jay going to try to shove a round peg in a square hole and make him run a whole bunch of zone runs and stuff. And number one, he proved he can.
He did run some zone.
Right, he did
pretty well.
He did. That's number one. He ran some zone, and he ran it pretty well. And number two, Jay adapted. Jay let him run gaps out of the eye. And guess what? Adrian can still do that. What I was impressed with beyond that, I was impressed with Adrian in that I think he just has, I mean, we all know he has way better vision than any of the guys we have. But
Right.
I was impressed that he still looked more or less like himself. He explodes through holes like no running back we've had since Clinton Portis. Even now, today. And you can see, even the most novice football fan can look at that and go, that guy's totally different than Samaje Perine, Rob Kelly, all these guys. He looks different.
Sure. No question about that. Here's my thing about what I saw from Peterson. Obviously, he still can be effective. Don't know if he can do that 16 games. Don't know if he can do that, full games. But we had that one play where they ran him, 7 times or one drive, where he ran 7 times in the drive and was effective.
Yeah.
If he can give us 1 or 2 of those a game for a couple games at least, that will take so much pressure off the defense. Yeah. We have lacked the ability to have a couple grinded out drives on offense for years now. And that's part of why our defense is stunk, is they don't get enough rest.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right about that.
I mean,
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, no, I was going to say, yes. I mean, to me, his health is a primary concern. I would love to,
of course,
say less. I've craved. I mean, you guys know that anybody who's listening to the show knows I have craved a running back who can get 20, 25 carries a game, and I've craved a coach who's willing to do that, because I think that's an easy way to set up winning football. And I think Jay wants to. I think Jay is begging to do that. He just needs a guy who can. And Adrian is a guy who can, but anytime you have a 33-year-old running back, even a guy with as supernatural abilities to heal as Adrian Peterson, you have to be worried, as Alex said, that can he do that? Can he take 20 carries a game for 16 weeks in a row? Or 17 weeks?
And I honestly don't know if he can. But here's the thing. Maybe we can trust him to have 12. If we can trust him with 12, and maybe there's 4 weeks where the backup is the primary ball carrier, I think we can live with that.
I can't.
At least for this year.
That's more of the same to me.
Well, but that's better than what we've had.
I don't know if it is. I mean, just this running back by committee thing just doesn't work in Washington. The reason why it hasn't worked for us is our running backs by committee suck.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm not saying by committee for 16 games. I'm saying for 4 games, you got to maybe give him some relief.
I don't know. I mean, I just think you run him, you play Peterson until he drops, and then you move on. That's what I would do.
Yeah, but just giving him so much mileage, Steve, might make him drop earlier. And then what kind of position will we be in? Be in a horrible position again.
If your plan means like he's done by the 8th game, what does that mean for the second half of the season?
It means we had 8 games of a solid running game, and then we go back to what we had last year, which stinks. I don't know. I mean, this is why Jay Gruden's a coach and we're not. It's
Sure.
I just think the only way this team will change, to me, offensively, is if we have that franchise back who can do it. And so I just think you got to let Peterson roll, and let's just see what happens. That's my vote.
I think it's mostly just that 33 years old, he's not used very much the last, 2 full years. We just don't know how well he's going to hold up. And we also know Jay Gruden is a running back by committee type of guy. Was in Cincinnati, and he is now. Those 2 things combined just makes me feel like just don't put it all on Peterson. We cannot run him into the ground. We can't afford it.
Well, I mean, luckily you're not going to put it all on him. Thompson will be in there and healthy because they're keeping him out all preseason. So that takes care of what, a third of the carries right there that Peterson might have to take.
Actually, that's a really good question. What do you guys think is Thompson's workload in the post Adrian Peterson signing team? What do you think he's going to look like this year?
I think Thompson's highest and best use to the Washington Redskins is to be a third down back. Principally, I think you have to occasionally throw Thompson 3 or 4 carries a game on first and second down to keep defenses honest. Because otherwise, you'll see, if Thompson's in the game and it's third down, you know what's going to happen. It's going to be a flat pass to Thompson or a sweep, or something like that. And so I think you have to keep defenses honest. I guess here's my point. If you have to have a running back by committee, the committee needs to be Adrian Peterson and Chris Thompson. I'm very, for some reason, I wrote about Rob Kelly 2 years ago in his rookie year. He looked pretty good in his rookie year. I don't know what's happened. He's regressed For whatever reason,
Right.
he doesn't look like the same guy at all. Samaje Perine is a backup and nothing more. Yeah, he had the 30-yard run against the Jets. Well, I could have gotten 15 of those yards in that huge hole. It was a gigantic hole. No offense to Peterson or Perine, but he's a backup.
Perine, yeah.
He's a backup. So I think if you have to have a committee, the committee is Adrian gets 75% of the carries. You sprinkle occasional Thompson carries in there, and then let him also be a third down back, and there's your committee. That's what I would do.
Right. So just looking, I'm looking back at you remember how I kept all those weird numbers of how much every player contributed.
Yeah.
Last year, Thompson's total was about 13%. That 13% of all touches on offense.
Well, is that Well, define what you mean though, because he went out.
Yeah, he got injured.
Yeah.
Right.
So is that 13% of 16 weeks or 13% of when
of 16 weeks? I don't have the one in front of me that I broke it down week by week, but it was around 1/3 in his peak. So there's some drop off.
What week did he go out? Does anybody remember? Somebody.
I want to say week 12 or something. Week 11.
Let's see. Look it up real
Okay,
quick.
we're going to look that up because we can take a better whack at this
Yeah,
if we know.
but I don't think his amount of production has to go down that much because Perine got a lot of carries and Kelly got a lot of carries. Obviously, they were a bulk of the running. So I mean, you're going to be mostly taken away from those guys for Peterson.
Week 11, by the way.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yep, week 11. Okay.
So that is 5/8, and so you add, a little more than a third to that, and so if you said he's 13%, and so add another third, so he's at maybe 20%.
Yeah, let's say he is 20% of the offense last year.
Right.
I don't think you have to take him down very much from that for Peterson to get a lot of play.
Yeah,
I really don't.
That's true. That's a good point. We were leaning pretty heavily on Thompson.
Maybe I'm crazy, but I just think Jay is a guy who's begging for a franchise back. I think Jay has been a running back by committee guy because he's had no other choice.
Well,
I don't know, Steve. I kind of feels like he's prioritized running back lower than other positions in his tenure here. I mean, I'm not necessarily indicting him for that, but I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, poor Jay never had an opportunity to get a running back in his whole time here. Wouldn't necessarily say that's true.
He's learned his lesson, though, now, right? I mean, he's drafted Darius guys. He's bringing in Adrian Peterson. I think hopefully we're going to see a change. Maybe Jay Gruden has learned that you have to have a running game to win.
Yeah,
well,
right. I think.
I mean, he ran it 50% of the time last year. If you look at those total numbers, he ran it a lot.
Yeah, he's not as much of a passing guy as you might think. You're absolutely right.
No.
Talked about this before.
Right, and I think we've also talked about this before, that he really does try and adjust his game plan to his players.
He just knows his running game is stunk. And what Sean is right about is that from a player acquisition standpoint, they put no effort into it. Zero. They've had a bunch of undrafted free agents. I mean, Rob Kelly's made a career of himself. Congratulations, but he's an undrafted free agent. Samaje Perine is the big running back acquisition. He's a 4th-round pick.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and they had Matt Jones before that, who the
busted.
GM at the time said was going to be great.
But didn't everybody know? Yeah, but didn't everybody but the GM know he was going to be a bust? I did. I knew from day one that dude was going to be a bust.
I didn't. I thought, okay, he's got some speed and he's got some size.
I never believed in Matt Jones. But
wow.
I think we're going to have to go pull some tape, Sean.
Maybe somebody's going to find some tape out there of me extolling the virtues of Matt Jones, but I don't think so. And what I remember about what I thought at the time was I just never believed in it. And as soon as I saw him do anything, I never believed in him. That's what I think I remember of myself at the time. Somebody prove me wrong. You want to do? Let's do game stats real fast. Let me run over this real fast.
Yeah. Then we got to talk Smith.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Smitty.
Kevin Hogan was our leading passer. He went 7 for 9 for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns, 147 quarterback rating. Alex Smith, 3 for 8, 33 yards, 50 quarterback rating of 50.
Yeah.
Colt McCoy, 3 for 8 for 19 yards, quarterback rating of 45. Adrian Peterson was our leading rusher, 11 carries, 56 yards. Capri Bibbs was 2 for 41. Rob Kelly was 8 carries for 19 yards. Yuck. Leading receiver was Kidsey. Darvin Kidsey. I said
who?
What did I didn't say Darvin, did I? I did say.
Yeah.
I did say Darvin. I did say Darvin, and his name is Darvin. Darvin Kidsey, 3 receptions, 50 yards and a touchdown. Paul Richardson Jr., 2 receptions, 31 yards. Capri Bibbs, 2 for 20. Simi Cobbs, 1 for 18 and a touchdown. and some other guys had some catches. Beyond that, defensively, Sean Dion Hamilton yet again was leading tackler, 6 total tackles. Kenny Ladler was next with 5 tackles, and the one sack of the day belonged to Anthony Lanier. So that is, if you want to do the Broncos on the hand, to be depressed.
No, that's fine.
I'd rather not.
Yeah, screw my new local team, my new adopted local team. I hate them.
So that's stats.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You guys want to start with Smith? Talk about receivers, finish up on offense,
Yes.
and go to defense, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, let's do Smith real quick. That was easily his worst performance, right? That we've seen.
It was almost his only performance.
Right.
Yeah,
That's true. He's had 2 drives before this, so.
But certainly going back to last year, Steve, this was definitely still his worst performance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Not a good look. Do you guys make much of this? He said in the post-game press conference, obviously we're not showing everything about our playbook. It's sort of a vanilla offense. But what do you make of his obvious sort of rustiness and inability last night?
I don't know how much of it was rustiness versus how much of it is really that Denver has they've been this way for a while. They've got a solid defense.
Sure.
You know, their pass rush was getting to them pretty quickly. Their secondary was covering everybody really tight. You can't see everything in the game, the way they shoot games, but I didn't see any receivers coming open quickly like you normally do in a Gruden offense. Usually there's somebody in the slot who's got no one around him for 5 yards.
Yes, it's true that Jamison Crowder did not play.
Right. And Jordan Reed did not play.
Yeah, but let's not sugar, because I said there's been some Twitter apologists out there who put this on the receivers, and I want to put the kibosh on that right now. Yes, that's true, but Alex Smith did not pass the ball well last night, okay?
No, he didn't. He didn't throw many good balls. I agree with that, too.
He did not throw many good balls. It was not a good quarterbacking performance by Alex Smith. And so part of this is his fault, and I refuse to put that on the fact that Jordan Reed was not out there and James Crowder was not out there. Alex Smith did not play well. If you don't believe me, you're just going to have to get over it, because that's the God's honest truth. Let's hope that was just he had a bad night. I mean, even great people like me have bad days occasionally.
Yeah. Certainly looked like he floated one over the receiver out on the flats at one point. Simple throw, just off, whatever it was. He was off his rhythm or whatever.
Right.
He had some nice passes, I guess, to Richardson. But on the whole, just not a whole lot happened last night. And by the way, Jordan Reed not being on the field is a very likely scenario, so we better figure out something. If people are using that as an excuse, you better figure out something quick.
Are we done with Jordan Reed? Are we done with
No, I don't think the team is. I think fans might be over him.
Yeah, that's
I think there's a large segment of the fan base that's over him.
Yeah, it's getting there.
Yeah.
I mean, his contract, he's got a brutal contract.
You can't get rid of him, but
no, I mean, and they're paying him a lot of money for not a lot of production. I mean, I'm just wondering when the team is going to get tired of him.
I think if he doesn't perform at all this year, then they'll get tired of him really quickly.
I would agree. If something happens this year that keeps him out for a large part of the season,
it's a Brian Arakpo situation, man. You know the guy's got talent, but he's not healthy.
They cannot keep paying this guy millions and millions of dollars if he's only going to be out there half a season every single year.
Yeah.
And the truth be told, I mean, yes, there's a drop off between Reed and Davis, but I don't think it's as big a drop off as you might think. I mean,
I don't think it is either. I just don't think Davis will be around very long. He's what, 35 or something?
Yeah, he's enough of a freak athlete that he can be around for another year or two, probably, and do okay.
But he's a tight end. They take a lot of punishment.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. But
it's interesting about Davis, I would say. Their connection, his and Alex Smith's obvious connection, could very well be a great thing for Jordan Reed in terms of he doesn't, defenses are going to have to watch that connection really closely. It might take a little bit of pressure off Reed. He might take slightly less of a beating than he usually does as a result of that. And who knows, maybe we get Jordan Reed for a full 16 games this year.
For the first time in his life.
Yeah, for the first time. It could happen. It is great. It's nothing but good for Jordan Reed that we have other tight ends on this team that Alex Smith would like to throw to.
Except that Jordan Reed has a $10 million cap hit this year.
That's the one big red flag,
Granted.
Yeah.
But there's no getting out of that now, right? So
No.
Who else on offense do we need to talk? We talked a little bit about running backs. It sounds like we can't. I mean, sorry, to finish up Smith, it sounds like we're not necessarily making too much out of this performance last night.
I mean, look, it was one game. And let's just say this also now. I mean, the starters went halfway into the second quarter. I fault Jay Gruden for poor preseason planning. I think this is a team that needs to play more. Yes, we've had a lot of injuries, but you cannot play scared, man. You got to just play the game and worry about the injuries as they come. I don't know if it's just a case of we're panicking too much about the injuries or what, but for some reason, every year Jay has played these starters less and less in the preseason. We always look like crap in week one. And form is following now again. I don't know why you don't at least. If I had been the coach, I would have said screw it and play these starters into the third quarter. They need to work.
Denver played theirs all the way through the second half.
Yeah, exactly.
Or second quarter, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And by the way, we didn't do any better against their second stringers than we did against their starters.
Oh no. But I think the Redskins are on this weird schedule where their second stringers are playing first stringers almost every game.
Right.
They're by the time their third stringers go in, the second stringers are just getting warmed up for the other team.
And I fault Jay for this. I don't know if he's just not. I don't know why he does this. I think the team would be better served by the starters playing longer. I mean, it's a pointless conversation because it's done and over with now. It doesn't matter.
Right. You're not going to play them in the fourth game. Yeah, that's just not done.
But I criticize Jay for his decision making with regard to playing time.
Absolutely. And I don't think anyone would disagree with that. I mean, but the thing is, the starters just looked awful all game. Other than Adrian Peterson and the run blocking looked solid. The pass blocking was terrible by the starters. Like I said, Smith was getting hit quite a bit.
Yeah, a lot of pressure.
The receivers weren't getting open like we were talking about.
It's just a characteristic of Jay Gruden's team. Every team he coaches, they're just not ready. Come to see he runs a poor offseason. I mean, he draws up good plays. There's a lot of positives about it, but he does not get folks ready for the start of the season.
No, and I think the fact is he's always the good cop. And I've said this before. I don't dislike our offensive coordinator, but he could use an offensive coordinator who could be the bad cop. Yeah. Someone to crack the whip more.
I think you're totally right. I did take a few notes in this game, not my full set of notes, but I took abbreviated notes. And what I wrote was first half players who flashed.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian Peterson, Martrell Spate. That was it.
That sounds fair.
Normally I have 4 or 5, and today I had 2. And the other note. By the way, I just throw this out there for Alex's weird special teams fetish. Josh Harvey Clemens, great punt, great tackle on the last.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. No, he'll be a starter on the special teams unit. Yeah. I don't know what else he'll do, but you got to have those guys that you're like, all right, you're the starters on the special teams, and Clemens is in there. So that's one.
But here's what stuck. And that one thing that stuck out in me. When Adrian came out of the game for the Redskins' third drive, Capri Bibbs was the guy who went in, not Rob Kelly, who has gotten the first string minutes up to now. Capri Bibbs is the guy who came in next. And that, to me, that's very clearly a sign that the team is really trying to rank order these running backs. And Rob, I think, Rob has fallen down the pecking order.
I think you're right, but I also think it's because Bibbs can catch, and he's the, if Chris Thompson were hurt for, let's say, a month, Capri Bibbs would be getting those carries or those plays. It's not going to be Samaje. It's not going to be Rob Kelly. They're not receivers.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that at all.
Open competition. This is what we need. There's nothing wrong with that.
I think it might not have been an open competition, and now it is. That's my
until
point.
Now.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I think the competition was okay, guys. It's your job.
Yeah.
I'm talking. I'm talking post guys. Clearly, it was Geis' job. But after Geis went out, Rob Kelly had the first shot, without a doubt.
Yeah, and then he ran 2 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he just hasn't looked good. Samaje hasn't really looked much better, in my opinion, and he didn't play this week. So Capri Bibbs is, I think, in terms of the second string running back, Capri Bibbs is the next man up, and he got his shot this week. And guess what? He didn't do half bad. I think our fellow Hogstire Rick Rogers has been touting the Capri Bibbs horn for a while, and I'm beginning to think he's right. I'm beginning to think Capri looks like he shows more explosiveness than either one of those guys.
Well, he's got pedigree, and because he came from a big program, didn't he? Wasn't he like at Colorado or somewhere?
Hold on.
And he was like a leading rusher or something. His college resume was pretty good.
Hold on.
Yeah, Colorado State University. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Colorado State is not a big program, number one.
No.
How dare
but
you.
I was looking
not.
more at the fact that I think he was like their leading rusher for. Yeah,
I don't doubt that.
He put up some serious numbers in college. I remember that.
Yeah.
But I think it makes sense that they're gonna give Bibbs the shot because, I mean, he's faster and he can catch, and this team is predicated on a lot of receiving out of the backfield. That's been our offense for 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, go with the hot hands. What do you got to lose? Now, Steve,
Yeah.
what did you say about his stats? Did you say he was 2 for 41, but one of them was like 38 or something, right?
No, it wasn't 38. It was 38. I thought it was less than that. So so he had one run for 38 yards.
Crazy run.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
fair enough.
Just put that aside, though. I'm beginning to think that Capri Bibbs looks more explosive than the other two guys.
Well, I think so.
Pass
I
catching
think
ability aside, that's what's beginning. I'm beginning to think Rich is right. When he was said that weeks and weeks ago. In terms of other first half notes, there really wasn't a lot of good about it in any way. I thought the defense looked terrible. I thought it was their worst performance of the season. The Broncos offensive line manhandled the Redskins defensive line. They ran. They had multiple long runs. They had multiple runs that, wide, huge holes. They let Emmanuel Sanders, for God's sakes, have a, long touchdown run. Not a good thing. And doesn't bode well.
No, there were some. This was not a good game for almost anybody except for Adrian Peterson, really, in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of willing to. I think the team played worse than it was last year, last night, defense included. It wasn't a good showing, but I'm ready to move beyond it. I think we're a better team than that showed. In other words, this doesn't raise a huge amount of red flags to me. We still haven't seen a lot of the starters on this team play for that much time. I'm not ready to freak out about this game, but it was a very poor showing. Very poor showing.
I'm not ready
That's
to
the
freak
perfect
out.
time to panic, Sean.
I'm not ready to
Yeah,
panic.
you're right.
I'm not ready to panic. I just think this is not what we needed to see, and I don't think it bodes well for the team. It made me think that we're going to see more of the same and not a fundamental change and a fundamental uptick in Redskins' performance. I hope they prove me wrong, but that was the thought. That's the thought that's been going through my head since last week or since last night.
Fair enough.
Okay, in terms of other things, if you go on to the second half of this game, sorry, had a minor
Skip right to
computer
the
issue
third
there.
string, please, when things actually got interesting.
Well, I mean,
Let's just say Colt McCoy was just as bad as Kirk, and let's move on.
McCoy was under a lot of pressure, though. And I think our second string offensive line, God help us, those guys have to play. John Kling looked like a traffic cone out there, at right tackle in particular.
I think you're being overly nice, even with traffic cone.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Traffic
yeah.
zone, yeah. You
Just an
avoid the
empty,
traffic.
open, driveway. That's what he was.
Yeah, he was absolutely terrible. I thought Troy Apke was terrible. Troy
Apke struggled. Yeah.
He was playing
Well,
soft
seriously,
the whole game.
here's the thing. For those of you who haven't played football, you can't tackle with your arms. Okay, if you guys, if you start flailing at people with your arms, even at a lower level, you're not going to make a tackle. And Troy Apke was flailing with his arms as people were running past him.
But Steve, that's what the NFL wants is a legal tackle now. They don't want full body.
Well, you know what? To tackle somebody, you have to lead with your shoulder, drive your shoulder into the mass of their body, and that is not what Troy
Your
Apke
core
does.
into their core.
Yeah, that is not what Troy Apke does. I was disappointed in Troy. I shouldn't say I was disappointed. I didn't ever expect him to be a starter. I think what last night showed me, I haven't focused on him too much before this game. I think what that showed me was he really does have a long way to go, unfortunately.
He does. He's got some raw tools, but, put him on special teams this year.
Yeah.
Let him learn there.
Yeah, he needs some good form tackling drills is what he needs.
Well, yeah. If you don't learn how to tackle on special teams, then I don't know where you're learning to tackle.
Yeah, well, you guys haven't played football. I mean, what you do is, at least, I don't know if the NFL does this too much, but at every other level, you do form tackling drills in training camp. And this is where the coaches will teach you how to tackle, or in the case of people who know what they're doing, verify they still know what they're doing.
No, I think the NFL banned that.
Apke needs some of that.
Yeah.
I had a note about Adonis Alexander, who got a really good run in the second half, number 34.
Yeah.
Adonis looks to me like he has very solid man-on-man coverage skills. I don't know about his own. That was a knock on him in college, but he's got solid man coverage skills. If you notice, Mark Bullock put a note out about him. Noticed about on one of the long, deep sideline routes, Alexander waited to get into position before he turned his head to look for the ball. That secures position, so he knows it's not going to be a disaster if the ball is caught. But I thought he looked good, so that bodes well.
Also, just physically huge compared to some of these guys.
Oh yeah,
you really start to notice that.
Greg Stroman looks like a string bean, and Alexander looks like a linebacker.
Right. Couldn't be two more different body types for for the secondary.
This goes back to the first half, but I had a note about Fabian Moreau. He showed a lot of burst. The one play that was highlighted on TV was a good example of his athleticism. I can't remember who the receiver was. It wasn't Sanders. It was another Denver receiver on a dig route inside. He beats Moreau. Moreau just came out of nowhere, closed the gap, and got a hand in to knock the ball away. That shows how athletic and how much of a burst Moreau has. So that was a good thing.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, everything else is bad, more or less, in what I wrote down. It was good to see Phil Taylor out there. He got some run. Phil hasn't played a regular season game since 2014. Anthony Lanier got a run. That's good. Let's start with Kevin Hogan.
Yeah.
All right.
Can we? Kevin Hogan.
Hello, young sir.
Yeah, this was Kevin Hogan's best performance as a Redskin.
Easily. Because the other two are garbage.
Yeah. Hogan had some good, solid passes. Despite his arm limitations, he's got to have a great arm, But Hogan has – I don't know if he just had a good day, as much of a good day as Smith had a bad day or what. But Hogan looked much more like a guy who could capably fill the third-string quarterback role than he has before. So good on him.
Right. Yeah, no, he was okay, and we need somebody to be the third stringer in case God help us, Smith or Colt McCoy are out for an extended period of time. So I don't think he'll make the roster still. I see him on the practice squad, but I think he might have secured his spot on the practice squad at least.
We'll see. I mean, he's going to get a good run next week, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll probably get most of the game next week.
He may start the game. As though the way Jay's been going, you may see the beginning of the Kevin Hogan era.
You start seeing that more and more with a lot of teams. So that's not just a Jay thing. The third string quarterback starting all the way through is kind of becoming a norm.
If it were me, I would start the second stringers next week and play Colt. I think they need help. They looked awful last week.
I would start the second string linemen and stuff like that. Colt's the one who I'm the least worried about on the second string.
I just mean
I'm not too worried about Colt for now. But I think this is an interesting point that we're bringing up, that it seems like on this team, the twos are woefully not good, and we don't have a lot of depth for people to fill in immediately. But our threes, on the other hand, seem to consistently beat the other team's threes. So whatever you want to say about that, that seems to be the case. There's a big drop-off between our talent and other teams for our backups, but our third stringers are great.
I have a perfect stat for that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
Okay. The Redskins had 10 possessions last night, or Friday night against the Broncos.
10 drives?
10 drives. And of those 10 drives, they punted 6 times, and they lost 1 on downs. They scored on 3 of those drives. 2 of those scores came from the third stringers in the fourth quarter with 2 touchdowns. And so, in other words, the starters and the second stringers combined had 8 possessions, 6 punts, 1 on downs, and 1 field goal. And then the third stringers put up 14 points. And they did well. They've scored in previous preseason games too. I'm telling you, this doesn't bode well for the starters. I mean, I know we're supposed to be optimistic and everything, but we haven't seen solid play from the starters, with the exception
we're supposed to be optimistic. I think it's okay if we're pessimistic.
The defense did very well against the Patriots. The first-string defense did well against the non-Tom Brady Patriots. So give them that, but Tom Terrific wasn't playing. Other than that,
and they also did well against the Jets, which is kind of like saying you beat a college team. But
the Jets started their rookie quarterback to see what would happen.
Right.
And that was his first start of his career, and it's the Jets, like you said. So I'm just not sure if my prior optimism about this season is holding form after seeing 3 weeks of the preseason.
Yeah. Well, I've never been, I've always been trying to stay pessimistic about the season because, I'd rather be bummed out and accept it than get shocked if they're happy.
When you're a Redskin fan, it's better to be pessimistic than optimistic.
Right.
Fair enough. Well, what are our final thoughts about this game? Do we want to bring? Is there anything we missed, Steve?
Sure. Or I covered my notes, and I think I put, after Alex was done live tweeting last night, I put out one tweet that said game recap. Number 1, Peterson looks good. Number 2, everything else sucked.
Right.
Accurate.
With the exception of Kevin Hogan, who looked pretty good. Everything else basically sucked. I think, in summary, if you wanted to summarize my thoughts right now, I'm worried. I'm worried we're going to have a slow start to the season, and I'm worried that our defense is not going to be what everybody thinks it's going to be. Because what we didn't mention is aside from that Fabian Monroe play, our secondary looked awful. The starting secondary looked awful.
Norman was getting beaten up.
Norman got beat 2 plays in a row. By the Denver starters.
Yeah.
So, and yes, it's Emmanuel Sanders. It's Emmanuel Sanders who's a bigger receiver. Okay, fine, but I'm just more worried than I was. So that's my summary. I'm worried.
My summary is, after week 4 of the preseason, the Redskins need to be looking at any decent interior linemen who get cut by another team, because I don't think that we have a third option at guard or center or whatever you want to say that's
I don't know
viable.
if we have a second option at guard or center.
Yeah.
Well, Sean Laval exists.
Beside the starters, I'm talking.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Scherf and Laval, I'm not sure we have even a second option.
No, I don't think we do, and I think they need to be saying, okay, who has a pulse? Yeah. Who if I were the Redskins, I would be scouting like crazy there.
Listen, Adam Tarasky and Robbie Duncan are available. I may get down to them, at the way we're going.
I'd buy a Robbie Duncan jersey. Jersey. Badass. Okay, well, you know what? I'm not drastically different than anything you guys just said. Steve, I am also concerned. There's also that stat that says when a team does really well in preseason, they end up sucking during the regular season and vice versa. It's sort of a superstitious thing, so at least we can hang our hats on that, and that's what I'm going to choose to do. I'm going to say that this poor performance is indicative of nothing. The team's going to come out and play better than they looked last night, at least, although that's not saying much. Let's move on from there. Do we want to go into our season predictions, go over the whole season and talk about that? Do we want to talk about some other little news things I think we had, or what do you guys want to do?
I think let's do the season predictions, and then we'll get to the other news things last, because we never know how long season predictions are going to go.
And Jamal isn't here. We'll get Jamal's input on this. He may do it
and I'll do the customary publishing of our predictions.
One way or another, Jamal's predictions will be published somewhere.
Right.
All right.
Well, I'm excited. This is my time to shine, guys. So let's do this.
Okay. Well, week 1 is at the Arizona Cardinals. If you had asked me at 7:00 Eastern last Friday night, I would have said win. But after this game, the Denver game, I'm predicting they go down in flames at the Cardinals. I'm predicting a loss.
All right. Loss for Steve. I am going to be Mr. Sunshine and Rainbows. I think Arizona's a mess still, So I'm going to say Adrian Peterson goes in there, gets 120-something yards. Smith has an okay day, and we pull out a win.
Okay.
Nice. I am going to say I think we've lost the first game of the season like 4 years or something in a row. Is that right?
Yes. Every year of Jay's career, yes.
I actually agree with what Alex said, but I'm just going to go for historical consistency here and say this is going to be another loss, considering Jay Gruden is Jay Gruden. All right. Should I write these down, by the way? Or are we
I'm writing them down. Okay. I'm tracking it.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, week 2 is the Colts at Jack Kent Cooke Stadium in Landover, Maryland. I'm going to say this is a game. If you can't beat the Colts at home, you need to not play NFL football. You know,
right.
you got to beat the Colts. You have to beat the Colts. And yes, Andrew Luck will be back, but it's the freaking Colts. So I'm going to predict a win.
I'm with you. Win. I think Andrew Luck's going to be in the XFL working for his dad before we know it. So
dogging on my man Luck. My mom's going to be pissed. She has a huge crush on him.
On his dad?
On Andrew Luck.
Does she like nerds who have ugly beards?
I guess so. I mean, apparently, this is a new thing I learned about my mother. Apparently, she does.
Which explains why you and I and many people here have ugly beards.
Have ugly beards. That's right.
Are you saying you're trying to attract Sean's mom? Come on. That's awesome.
Why not?
Easy, Alex. She's taken. I'm going to go win on this one.
Win? All right, so first sweep.
All right. Week 3 is the Packers in Raljohn, Maryland. The problem with the Packers in Week 3 is that Aaron Rodgers will be healthy, and the majority of the Packers will be healthy. The history of the Packers is they get drastically hurt, and things go south because of all the injuries. But this is the healthy Packers, so I say loss.
Loss?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we got lucky and beat them primetime, 4 years ago. But I don't think we get lucky again. I'm going to go loss.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to round us out with call it a loss. I just don't think there's a chance. We did beat the Packers the year they won the Super Bowl, and we were not nearly as good a team as they were. We have that weird habit of playing up to the Packers when we play them, but it's a loss.
And then losing to the Cardinals. Yeah, that's
right.
Okay.
Right.
Week 4 is the bye week. The bye week comes super early this year. It's just kind of bad luck, but it is what it is.
I hate that there is even a bye week that early in the year. There really it shouldn't exist until week 6 or so.
It's all about TV, man. They don't want to get rid of
it's stupid.
It's not about the players. It's about the only reason. Here's a news flash for everybody. The only reason a bye week exists is so there can be another week of games. Okay, it has nothing to do with the players. Okay, so week 5 is the Saints in New Orleans on Monday Night Football. I think this is a guaranteed loss.
Loss?
Yep.
I will be out of town for that game. It'll also be my birthday week, so I'm going to say loss.
Pessimist on his birthday.
Yeah.
You know, guys, we almost beat them last year. I mean, have you forgot? Is your memory so short, guys?
Almost.
I mean, you're
almost.
Right. Almost means
counts
very little.
Almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Right.
God, I just...
And a marriage.
I'm going to go win on this one. It's an unconfident win.
Okay.
God, looking at this, if we really get down to 1-3 at this point in the season already, my goodness, that's going to be depressing. I guess this is a hopeful call. I'm going to say win.
Well,
all right, so Sean and I are at 2-2. Steve is at 1-3.
Right. Okay, and that's the first quarter of the season. So entering the second quarter, the first game is the Carolina Panthers, and Cam Newton in FedEx. I don't see. Let me just say about my picks. I wrote my picks down in preparation for the show, but I wrote them down after the Denver game, and so they're a bit more pessimistic probably than I probably should be. But I think Cam Newton and the Panthers are going to come in and beat us. I just call it a funny feeling. I just think it's a negative overall event.
Okay, I'm going to say 63% of the time, all the time, and we're going to beat the Panthers. I don't know why. I think the Panthers are one of those teams that's on the verge of falling apart every couple of years.
Sure. I'm going to say I totally get where you're coming from, Alex. I'm going to say loss. I mean, I think they were 11-5 last year.
Yeah.
We could beat them. I'll say that. We could. We probably won't, but we could.
Week 7 is Dallas in Washington. Look,
oh boy.
I hate to predict this, but, I mean, I'm done predicting wins over Dallas until we prove we can. We have been dominated by the Dallas Cowboys over the past 5 years. Dominated. And so until the Redskins prove me otherwise, that one's a loss. Hate to say it, but I got to be honest. More so than a Larry Michaels cheerleader, it's a loss.
Right. And it pains me, too, and I can't do it. Even though I probably think they will lose, I'm going to say win.
You are going to be Larry Michaels cheerleader.
Yeah. Well, no, Larry Michaels would say skin tangibles 100 times. And,
that's true. That's true. It's the intangibles that are going to get the win. The skin tangibles.
Skin tangibles.
God. I'm going to split the games with the Cowboys this year, so I'm going to call the first one a loss.
Okay.
Loss. All right.
All right. Week 8 at the New York Giants. I think the Giants are a bigger mess than we are.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And Saquon, because I've got a kid in the house here who's become a Giants fan because of Odell Beckham mainly. And
that's a terrible reason to be a Giants fan.
I got to let him be, you got to let a kid be a kid. It's a terrible reason. But anyway, I think we can go into New York and actually win a game. So,
all right.
And see, by the way, I predicted 1, 2, 3. That's 4 losses in a row. I don't think we're going to get to 5 losses in a row.
Mm-hmm. I think this is a win too, which means I have us on the 3-game winning streak at this point.
Yes.
So
wow.
Yeah.
Alex, my goodness. I'm going to go for win for this one. Giants.
Okay.
Screw them.
We're all going to be wrong because they'll probably lose. Okay, week 9 is the Matt Ryan led Atlanta Falcons at the Big Jack in Valjean. I think Atlanta's Atlanta has issues, but I think overall they're probably a much better team than Redskins, and they will do what they need to do to win. So this one's going to be a loss for the Redskins.
Yeah, that's the end of my win streak. It goes to an L, not a W.
Okay.
10-6. They're a better team than us. What are we even discussing? We lose.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
We lose.
Week 10 is Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Can I just say this is not looking good already for my.
No. You guys are both. I'm Mr. Sunshine this year, and I'm the pessimist.
This is bad. Okay. Sorry.
I just call this as I go game by game, and whatever it comes out to is whatever it comes out to. That's how I do it. Mm-hmm. I don't go like, okay, I think they're going to be 8-8, and how do we get there? That's not how I do these.
Sure.
Okay, week 10 is Tampa in Tampa. Tampa's a freaking mess.
Yeah.
Tampa's a mess. If we can't, this is another game. If we can't, yes, is on the road. If we can't beat Tampa, we have issues, bigger issues than I think. So we're going to go into Tampa and win.
Yeah, I have no faith in anything Tampa's doing. I think that they should have been starting a rebuild, and they haven't. So, yeah.
Okay.
Great. Call it a win for me, too. It's just this is a team, I think, that can finally beat consistently the lower tier teams in this league.
Oh,
our team this year can do it. We win.
Alex, can you go backwards after the Atlanta game and do a summary? Because that was the end of the second quarter of the season.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll add in Tampa. So, Steve, you have 3 wins, and what would that be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 losses. So you're at 3-6. Sean is at 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I have, and I'm the inverse of Steve, basically, 6-3.
Okay.
Nice. Okay.
All right.
We're covering our bases here this year.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
All right, so now we're into the third quarter. The Tampa was
Houston.
the start of the third. I know Tampa was the start of the third quarter of
Right.
the season. The Texans are always an enigma because they're good if they don't get hurt, but they always have devastating injury problems.
Right, they're like
than
us,
the Redskins.
but in Texas.
But they're worse. They lose their best players to injury every year.
Yeah,
they were
literally the only team worse than us in terms of injury last year.
Yeah, I mean, because J.J. Watt is league MVP level caliber good, but he's always hurt. I think the Texans are coming to Washington, so I think we can beat the Texans. I'm probably wrong about this, but I think the Texans are going to have some issues somehow, some way, and the Redskins are going to win.
All right. I'm actually gonna call this a loss for us. I think if Deshaun Watson and J.J. Watt are healthy, I don't know how you beat those two.
You're probably way more right than I am, and I should be calling it a loss, but I don't know.
I get where you're coming from.
I think you guys are depressing on this one. I think the Redskins can beat the Texans. Guys, 4-12 last year? Come on, guys. This shouldn't even be that much of a debate. I think we're a better team than that. Totally hear where you're coming from. Okay. But I think we can pull this off. Call it a win.
And for the record, I called it a win, too.
You did? I'm sorry.
It was a pessimistic call, and I'm predicting I'm wrong as soon as I make the call. Okay, Week 12 is at Dallas on Thanksgiving Day. There's no question. Slam dunk loss.
Yeah, I'm going to say we split with Dallas, and each team wins at home.
Okay.
It's probably a smarter prediction, Alex, but I'm going to stick with my guns here and say I'm going to split the games with the Cowboys. Not as concerned about. I'm more concerned about the overall record. I'm going to call this one a win since the first one was a loss.
Wait,
All right.
so Alex, did you say win or loss?
I said loss.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, look, I told you guys, I mean, I'm done predicting wins over Dallas until the team shows they can do it. Sorry. Okay, week 13 is at the Eagles on Monday Night Football in the City of Hate. This is another easy loss. Easy call, no question.
Yep, no question about it, because Carson Wentz, he might start off the season a little banged up still, but we're not getting him till the end of the year. So
they won the Super Bowl without him.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, I really want to say no. It's a loss. I'll probably end up splitting these games with the Eagles too. It's a loss.
I mean, it's also on Monday Night Football, and what kind of history do we have on Monday Night Football? Okay, week 14 is the Giants in Washington. I don't think this team is good enough to sweep anybody, so I think they're gonna drop this game. I'm gonna call it a loss.
I think you're nuts. I think the Giants are. I think the Giants are going to be a mess. So I'm going to say win.
I told you I was more pessimistic when I wrote my picks out for this than I should have been.
You weren't lying. Alex, you called it a win?
Win. Yeah.
I'm riding that Alex train. Ooh, that sounded dirty. I'm going to call it a win, too. The Giants are a joke, and come on.
All right. I told you, pessimist. Jacksonville, week 15 at Jacksonville, easy call, easy loss.
I think the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're too good, even with a terrible quarterback. So, loss.
Amen. Keep making a clean sweep, guys.
All right.
Clean sweep loss. Okay, what kind of time are we in? Okay, we're good on time.
Yeah.
Okay, week 16 is at Tennessee. This is another thing. If you can't beat the Tennessee Titans, you have issues. Marcus Mariota is a decent quarterback, but the Titans are a team with big problems. The only chance I give them is they have Derrick Henry, who's a better running back than they seemingly give him credit for. But I think we can go into Tennessee and win.
So Tennessee finally fixed part of their uniforms, but they still have that stupid-ass logo, and that alone is enough to say that we're going to kick their asses.
I'm so glad that you're on a show which we deem to be a hardcore football show, and you're predicting wins and losses based on uniforms.
I always do.
So did you say win or loss, Alex?
I'm saying we win.
Okay.
Saying we win. Titans. I feel like they're a very similar team in terms of talent level to the Redskins. Different team in terms of scheme, but similar team in terms of their ability to get it done. They were like 9-7, I think, last year.
The Titans are not 9-7. The Titans, no, they were much worse than that. Keep talking. We're gonna look it up. Hold on.
Yeah, look it up. This is actually kind of a tough one. I'm gonna call it a win, but
you were right.
It could go either way.
They were 9-7. I thought they were 2 games worse than that. They were.
No,
you're right. They were
9-7. They had some crazy plays and some wild lucky finishes there towards the end. If you
all right.
Last year.
All right.
And then last game, big shocker, Eagles.
That's an easy loss. The Redskins are going to crumble. It'll be ugly. Loss.
Yep, I'm going to say loss.
Okay.
Damn. I'm going to say win, guys, and I know that's crazy. I know it's crazy. I know, but I really Alex, can you remind us what our tallies are so far?
I can get if you're saying win. Yeah, I can tell you what your final is, and that is that Steve is predicting a 5-11 season. Okay. I'm at the incredibly bold 8-8 prediction.
Okay.
And Sean, you would be at 9-7 if you're saying we beat the Phillies or Eagles.
I'm going to stick with that because 9-7 is really
kind of where you see us.
I had us set in for 10-6, but I don't see how we can get there now that we've done this. So I'm going to stick with. I don't 9-7, guys. Think about this last year. What did we get last year? We were 8 and.
No, we were 7-9.
7-9.
Okay, 7-9. We lost at least 2 really close games. One was the Saints game, and one's one that I was forgetting. We could have been at least 2 games better than we were last year. I just don't see that much of a regression. Although, admittedly, looking through the schedule, I see where you're coming from, Steve. I can't really take fault with anything you said.
Yeah, but I also want to say, though, that these predictions, much like Mark Bullock last year at this time disavowed his predictions because he hated them, I'm just saying that my predictions are affected by the fact that I'm still disgusted by the Denver game, okay?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying that right now, and if you ask me next week, matter of fact, ask me next week, I may update my official prediction after I've had a week to think about it.
All right. Well, I mean, we'll have Jamal
they are what they are,
get his
but,
numbers. So
yeah, they are what they are, but I mean, I'm saying I may have changed my mind in a week, but right now this is what I think.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
it's just looking through that schedule. It's hard to get to, but this team is not a freaking 5-win team. I really don't think it is. If it
not.
is, I
Jay
quit.
Gruden's going to be fired if it is, number one.
Yeah.
I think we'd see some major heads roll. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And speaking of which, they did a lot of talking to Brian LaFamina during the game.
Yes,
and
they did.
I posted this that I think Bruce is gone. We heard that from Rick Snyder a while back. I think he was on to something. I think Bruce is going to be out the door next year.
You know why I think Bruce is gone? Why I think Rick is right? Because all of Bruce's job duties have been taken by other people.
Yeah.
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 Brian LaFamina is the head of business operations, and Doug Williams is the director of player personnel.
Yep.
And just
so
the fact
I want
that
to
we
know
some of the things that LaFamina has done already.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already been a sort of prominent part of this team. I don't know if you saw this article in the last week, but the team has now been mailing preseason tickets, free tickets, to former season ticket holders who did not renew for their season tickets. So the team's trying to woo them back. LaFamina's trying to woo them back with free preseason tickets.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea, frankly.
No, it's smart. I mean, everyone knows that the whole you pay for preseason tickets thing is a big old scam that all the season ticket holders have hated. So
Right.
if you can find ways to just get people in through the door so they're at least buying beer and buying food and whatever else. By the way, that new party zone thing that he has down at the, bottom tier, that looks kind of nice.
I think we had that in the beginning too. I don't think.
Somebody. I was tweeting a joke about how I think they're ripping that off from the Arena Football League, and Rick Snyder was like, "No, they had that like back when they first built the stadium."
Yeah, Rick's right. They did.
Yeah.
Because Danny, Mr. Snyder, is the one that got rid of that to put more seats in. Back when I
Right.
thought he could sell seats. Here, I'm not ready to make this a bold prediction, so I'm not going to predict this. I raised this as a question since we're talking about this. The Redskins, for the first time in any of our lifetimes, are selling single-game tickets this year, and they have acknowledged that the season ticket waiting list, which legitimately used to be long, I waited, I think it was 7 years, to get season tickets at one point in time, which I gave up because it ended up being too much of an expense and blah, blah, blah. But I'm wondering if
Were you out of this area by the time you'd gotten them?
Yeah, I started out in the area, and then I was out of the area. But my thought was I could just sell these tickets and make enough money to fund the trips back to D.C. to go to a couple games. And unfortunately, since the team sucked,
Sure. I know people
who've
who've done that.
I was
but-
losing money on the tickets as I was reselling them. And they
Right.
were going to other teams. I was sending them to cities that we were playing, and it just became too much of a hassle. So, but anyway, I'm wondering if this is the year we're going to see a game not sold out and a game blacked out in the D.C. area. I'm not predicting that. I'm wondering if that's going to happen because they very clearly have not sold out all the tickets this year because they're still advertising. Thoughts?
Yeah. I think they'll go. They might not sell huge in advance, but if the tickets are available, I mean, look, this is the most unprofound thing I've probably ever said as part of the Hogs tie. But if the team's winning, those tickets will sell. If the team's struggling at this point, they're not. They're going to sign. I know that's like the most John Madden stupid thing I've ever said. But it's true. I think that's really what it'll come down to. The games will sell out if the talent's there and the production's there. If not, not say. Look,
I think I think Steve might be onto something because I've been in that boat where I've said that this team has lost an entire generation plus of fans. So
I mean, like I've predicted by accident that the team is going to start 1-5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Are we really going to sell? Is the game against the Texans going to sell out if this team went 1-5?
No.
Forget that. What about the Falcons?
Falcons are an NFC team.
They're close enough where you'll get traveling.
It's in the South. But the Texans game worries me, especially if the Texans suck again. I mean, that's a game that seems to me that if they're going to have a problem, it's going to be the Texans. Because then you've got at Dallas, at the Eagles, the Giants will sell out, at Jacksonville, at Tennessee, and then the Eagles, if nothing else, the Eagles will sell out the stadium for us if they're good. So
right.
The Texans, Week 11 and the Texans. And by the way, I'd just like to say that 1, 2, 3, 4 of our last 6 games are on the road to finish out the season. That's a tough road to hoe. But
I think that's why I have us going 2 and 4 in the last 6 games.
Right. So I'm just saying, in terms of tickets, I'm wondering if we're going to see a blackout, it's going to be the Texans Week 11.
Well, I think that we have a very good chance of it. Shockingly good.
I don't know if that's a very good chance. I just think it's a question worth discussing.
I think you're right. Now, if that happens, what will the fan reaction be? What will the local reaction and national reaction be to the 4th most valuable franchise in the NFL getting blacked out?
I think it's an indictment of Dan Snyder's ownership.
Oh yeah, I mean obviously that, but
that's what the story will be.
Will heads roll for that? That's what I mean.
No, I mean not during the season, but I mean, I think the story, if that happens, will from the Redskins local media and to include this show, at least from my voice, will be an indictment of the Dan Snyder ownership of the Washington Redskins. Because the simple fact is he bought a team that was coming off Super Bowl wins. And we've become a bottom 5 franchise over his ownership. I proved that statistically, by the way, last year when I did my 25.
Yeah, you did a whole breakdown, right?
Yeah, I did 3 articles on this. One main one, and I think it'd be an indictment of Dan Snyder's leadership.
Yeah, I mean the popularity of the team is the one metric that sort of hasn't changed. The team has become very poor, but very popular. But now it seems like we might be entering that phase where, like Alex said, you've lost too many people at this point. That's the final metric that kind of will grade Dan Snyder as an owner. Sounds like it's finally changing.
Yep.
So we'll have to see. Anything else you guys want to say about season predictions, this past game against the Broncos? Anything else you want to wrap up with?
Let me just reiterate. I was really surprised by how well Peterson looked. I kind of thought he'll come in and he can contribute. Maybe he can be a 50-yard a game back for us, which gives us some help. But now he's looking like he could do more.
I am freely ready to admit that if the Broncos game is a representative sample, my pessimism about the Peterson signing, which is in writing and documented in my post-Darius Geis article, was incorrect, and I gave Peterson too little credit. Yeah. We'll see what happens in a regular season. But I admit that based on last week's results, I'm pleased to say that I apparently was wrong.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Okay, well, we'll let that be the final thought. Folks, we said it at the top, we'll say it again. TicketClub.com is your place to go for Redskins tickets or any tickets this season. So make sure you go to thehogstie.com, clicking over to Ticket Club, and buying your tickets through there. It helps keep us running. We will see you all next week. It's been a pleasure. Take care.